Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone. My name is Khairunnajwa Edreena, Binti Khairol Edwan, and I'm from DEC 6E. My ID number is IDI 1905065. Okay, so today I would like to explain to you guys about social deviance. So what is social deviance actually? So in sociology, deviance describes an action or a behavior that violates social norms, including a formally enacted rule as well as informal violations of social norms. In this commentary video, I will explain to you guys more about the 7 social processes that grease the slippery slope of evil by Philip Zimbardo. And I will relate it to my subject, Robert B. Berchtold. Alright, but before I get into further detail about the 7 social processes, let me give you guys a brief explanation on Robert B. Berchtold. Alright, so Robert B. Berchtold comes from a true crime documentary that I have watched recently. The documentary is called Abducted in Plain Sight. So basically, Berchtold is a supervillain to many families. In the early 1970s, he befriended the Brobergs family with the sole intention of one day sexually abusing 9-year-old Jan Broberg. So over the course of the next decade, Berchtold manipulated Bob and Mary Ann Broberg also, both through intimidation and sexual blackmail. He also kidnapped Jan twice over a 2-year period and brainwashed her into believing that they were the only 2 people who could save the planet Earth, so she'd become dependent on him. Basically, he was manipulating her. He repeatedly drugged her and sexually assaulted her hundreds of times. Then, once she had turned 16, he abandoned her and their mission because in his eyes, she's grown too old. So basically, Robert B. Berchtold is a pedophile. When Jan turned 16, he left her like that, which also scarred her for life. But he didn't care because as long as she was out of his hands, he was doing fine. So basically, despite talking to the FBI about Berchtold's behavior, the Brobergs repeatedly let him back into their child's life, allowing him to perpetuate a disturbing and criminal cycle of abuse. Jan Broberg has been physically, mentally abused ever since she was a child. And the fact that it's so scary seeing that Robert B. Berchtold could actually kidnap her 2 times, twice in their family's life, right in front of their eyes. Alright, so out of the 7 social processes, I will be talking about 4 social processes. So the first social process I'll be talking about is mindlessly taking the first small step. So we can relate this process to Robert B. Berchtold was when he first befriended the Broberg family. So the Broberg family lives in Idaho, and a small town in Idaho, and they knew practically everyone there. But one day in the late 1970s, a new family moved in, and it was the Berchtold family. So basically, Robert B. Berchtold approached the Broberg family by trying to be one of the most nicest neighbors you could find. No one would even suspect for him to become a pedophile or basically a monster. He approached them by sending them fruit baskets, by offering to help them do handiwork, by making small talk with the parents and everything. So basically, Robert B. Berchtold was one of the neighbors that you would look up to, was one of the neighbors you could trust. And quoting Mary Ann Broberg, she said that Idaho is a town where you literally left the doors open. You could trust everyone in that town. Okay, so the second social process that I will be talking about is dehumanizing others. We can relate this process to Robert B. Berchtold's story is because he treats Jan Broberg as a mere puppet. He even gave her a nickname called Dolly. He used to call her his Dolly. So the reason why he dehumanized her is basically since he was a pedophile, he was a child groomer, he basically treated her as if she wasn't human. He treated her as his literal doll. He liked to praise her a lot, he liked to take care of her, he liked to be with her. So and in result, Jan thought of him as a big brother, maybe even a second father. In the documentary, Jan Broberg explains that he used to make her feel safe, he used to make her feel secure and at home, and she always felt safe with him. But Robert B. Berchtold did not think of her as that because he only used her for his own pleasure. Like, how can you call someone Dolly and then and then act as if they're not real. Okay, so the third social process that I will be talking about is blind obedience to authority. So this can be seen where Robert B. Berchtold basically brainwashed Jan Broberg's parents, which is Mary Ann Broberg and Robert, also known as Bob Broberg. The reason why he brainwashed them was so he could get better access to Jan. So in result, he basically sexually blackmailed both of them by making them believe that they were in love with him. Basically, he seduced both of their parents as well. So by doing so, since he seduced the dad by taking him out for a drive and telling him that he really likes Bob Broberg, and Bob Broberg at the time did not know anything, and of course he felt obligated to return Robert B. Berchtold's feelings. Of course, he was basically being manipulated and gaslighted by Robert himself. As for Mary Ann Broberg, Robert B. Berchtold basically went to their house at night, every night, and basically serenaded her and danced with her, and they had quite an intimate moment every night, and without Bob knowing. So they were both cheating and having affairs with Robert B. Berchtold behind each other's back. So in result, Robert B. Berchtold used this evidence to blackmail the parents if they ever tried to rat out on him or give his name to the police about him kidnapping Jan Broberg. Okay, so the fourth and last social process that I will be talking to you guys about is passive tolerance to evil through inaction or indifference. So what does this mean actually? It usually means by letting something evil happen without doing anything about it. It usually happens in a new or unfamiliar situation. So in this case, we can relate where since Robert B. Berchtold has blackmail towards Mary Ann Broberg and Bob Broberg, they were scared to do anything about their daughter, which also means that they didn't do much to get their daughter safe and sound at home. Back in those days, which is the late 1970s, it was kind of embarrassing to be blackmailed. It was kind of embarrassing to not have a clean reputation. So of course they wouldn't want people to know what relationship they had with Robert B. Berchtold. They would rather have a clean reputation rather than their daughter safe and sound at home. It's kind of crazy. It's also really sick how Robert B. Berchtold was basically manipulating the whole family and including each and every one of them in his sick and twisted mind game. Okay, so to conclude my commentary video, I will be closing on Robert B. Berchtold's case. So in conclusion, Robert B. Berchtold is a child groomer, pedophile, and a monster in general. He basically ruined the Broberg's family's life and scarred them for life. But even though the family kind of got justice because Mary Ann Broberg wrote a book on this case called Stolen Innocence, and Jan Broberg also conducted many press conferences and talks and documentaries about this case, I still feel like Robert Berchtold should have gotten a much more worse punishment. In 2005, he died due to suicide of an overdose of too many sleeping pills. And even though that's not the justice that Jan Broberg would have wanted, she, quote, said that it's best to know that he isn't there alive now and ruining other girls' life. So yeah, in conclusion, that's the end of my commentary video and my explanation about the social processes that grease the slippery slope of evil and this topic, social deviance. Thank you.